Pete Buttigieg is catching it from Congress. They have questions for him like, why are the airplanes not functioning? They seem to be on the ground a lot more than they should. They're airplanes. They should be in the sky after all. And so you're going to see that the Oversight Committee sent a letter, and look at this. They're basically saying, hey, this is a log of all of your problems, Pete. We'll take a look at it. This letter comes from a lot of people in Congress who are pretty sick of this stuff. James Comer, Glenn Grothman, we've got Pete Sessions, Nancy Mace, Jim Jordan, shout out to Jim. We've got Gosar, Fox, Byron Donalds is in the house, Kelly Armstrong, Marjorie Taylor Greene, we got Boebert, we got Luna, we've got Edwards and Langworthy, right? They're all pretty upset about what the heck is going on with our Department of Transportation. It's like terrible. So here is the letter from the Oversight and Accountability Committee. You see James Comer taking the lead on this thing to the Honorable Pete Buttigieg, the Secretary from the Department of Transportation. They say, hey, dear Secretary Pete, all right, look, Congress is conducting oversight of the DOT. Why? Failures, a series of them, in fact, aviation, rail safety. These failures indicate a recent and disturbing pattern of failures placing Americans at risk. And there's been more and more of these. You know, we've seen, I think, the entire fleet of a major airline was just down for a day due to a computer problem. And the list goes on and on. More and more derailments. We know that Joe Biden still hasn't visited East Palestine. Therefore, Congress says, we request a briefing, documents, and communications from the DOT related to your efforts to solve all of this. In the department's IG report, the Inspector General report on safety, here's what the Office of the Inspector General found about that aviation safety and that surface transportation safety are, again, leading management challenges and have been so for a long time. And they note that you guys need to address unresolved aviation safety issues. They said you have to overcome oversight challenges. You need to improve infrastructure. But despite these consistent warnings, Pete, it appears that the Department of Transportation has not addressed these concerns. In fact, right now, the FAA says that there were 1,730 runaway incursions in all of 2022, while this year alone, there's already been 1,500 in July. So our trajectory is not looking good. The pattern here is getting bad, meaning by the end of this year, things will be worse than they were in 2022. Reports suggest that it appears that a pattern of near misses involving airlines at U.S. airports continues to increase. It's going to surpass any total of these types of incidents in over 2 decades, right? So it's getting worse than it's ever been. In the past year, a series of passenger safety incidents occurring at airports across the country indicate these problems continue to persist. And this is a very curious thing. You know, if you want to go down this conspiracy theory rabbit hole, they don't want you traveling, right? They want to make it miserable so you never leave, so that you're just landlocked to your locality, so that you're not polluting and you're not wasting resources, whatever, which is really about them being allowed to consume more and you being allowed to consume less. So they want to lock you down indefinitely. And so they're not really interested in making air travel all that great. They operate on their own air travel systems, okay? They have their own roads, they have their own airports, they have their own planes, a lifestyle that we never even get to experience. They just walk right onto their private planes, get onto them, and then fly around, land, get right off of them. The rest of us have to have, cavity searches from the TSA when we go around traveling. So while we're doing this, right, the planes aren't even working, and, pilots are having medical incidents while they're 30,000 feet in the air. So here we see a long list of all the problems. September 21st, departing passenger plane sparks, sheds debris at takeoff. We've got this one. A passenger plane plunges 800 feet in the Pacific, going to Hawaii. Ground crew agent killed in an incident. This one, another plane nearly collides at JFK, right? The list goes on and on. A plane collision, another collision, an aborted landing, another near collision, smaller passenger plane. Ronald Reagan, Washington, another collision. What the heck is Pete doing? This plane clipped the wing of another plane. 2 passenger planes aborted a landing, and another ground crew member was killed in June. In addition to these, there are safety failures all over the rail sector, and we're seeing these happen as well. Just week after week, okay? November, February 3rd, February 16th, February 21st, Nebraska, Michigan, East Palestine, Ohio, resulting in thousands of gallons of toxic chemicals dropping all over the place. Propane tanker, 30,000 gallons of fuel, overturns in Florida. Here's one, a freight train with ethanol and corn syrup in in Raymond, Minnesota, evacuating the town. Rockwood, Maine. Lancaster, Minnesota. Yellowstone River, dumping molten sulfur and asphalt right into the river. So despite these incidents, Pete, the Office of the Secretary of Transportation has more than 86 new unresolved recommendations since Biden took office. According to the Inspector General, a recommendation is, quote, unresolved if management, like you, Pete, disagree with them. They require recommendations be resolved within 6 months. These recommendations include safety improvements. It appears, though, that the catalog that came from the Office of the Inspector General and their recommendations is long overdue. And Pete, you've got unresolved recommendations that you're not prioritizing. And so if you're not going to be prioritizing all of this, then, well, we've got to do a thorough investigations and investigate and remediate these serious issues so that planes don't start falling out of the ground, out of the air, onto the ground. We want these questions answered, Pete, by September. Documentation and data summarizing all the aviation and rail events which may have or did result in injury, death, or derailment or damage. All documents between Secretary of Pete and the White House, all internal department documents related to each event, what you're doing to prevent future aviation and transportation events, anything that resulted in injury, death, or damage, all communications about resolving the recommendations from the OIG. Give us this info and provide a staff level briefing as soon as possible. You remember, we're Congress. We have authority under Rule 10 to investigate any matter at any time, and we're doing it. Sincerely, a lot of people in Congress, right? This is a big, nice list of names here. James Comer, Glenn Grothman, and all of the others. It is something that I think merits serious inquiry because it feels like transportation is getting worse and worse by the day. And old Pete Buttigieg is just hanging out. I don't know if he's on paternity leave again, if he got more kids from someone else or whatever, but he's very, very terrible at his job, just like everybody else in the rest of the administration.